Julie Andrews once stood on stage, smiling as she accepted her Oscar, thanking everyone for the honor. She had charmed the world with her grace, voice, and warmth. But behind that perfect image was a painful secret she had kept for over 60 years. In 1965, while filming one of her most beloved movies, she found herself caught in a secret love affair that would change her life forever. Both she and the man were married at the time, and their connection was undeniable. Their chemistry on set became so intense that gossip spread quickly. Studio executives threatened to end their careers if they didn't stop seeing each other. Fearing for her reputation and her family, Julie chose silence, keeping that part of her life hidden until now. For decades, the world only saw the wholesome, graceful star of The Sound of Music, not the woman behind the spotlight who carried the weight of forbidden love and painful memories. Julie Andrews's story began long before fame, in 1935, in the quiet town of Walton-on-Thames, England. Her early life was far from simple. Her mother, Barbara, had an affair with a close family friend, and Julie was the result. For years, she believed another man was her father, only to discover the truth at 15. That secret stayed hidden until she revealed it herself decades later in her autobiography. During World War II, her childhood grew even more unstable. Her parents split and remarried, leaving her to move between homes. She often lived with her mother and stepfather, Ted Andrews, a man who drank heavily and behaved inappropriately toward her. To protect herself, she locked her bedroom door at night. Her family lived in poverty in wartime London, struggling to survive amid bombings and chaos. Despite the pain, one thing shone brightly in her life: her incredible voice. Her stepfather, though troubled, noticed her natural talent and arranged lessons with a respected singing teacher, Madame Lillian Stiles Allen. Madame became like a third mother to Julie and recognized her rare gift, a crystal-clear soprano voice with an astonishing range. Julie didn't see what the fuss was about. She would joke that her high notes were so sharp that only dogs could hear them. But her teacher knew she was special and trained her rigorously. At just 10 years old, Julie began performing with her mother and stepfather. She would stand on a beer crate to reach the microphone, singing for soldiers and traveling across England by train. Sometimes, she even slept in luggage racks to get to the next performance. At 12, she met a man who ran some of London's biggest theatres, and he gave her a chance to perform at the famous London Hippodrome. She sang a difficult French opera piece that left the audience stunned. From that night on, her life changed. The crowd loved her so much that she was invited to perform regularly. At 13, Julie became the youngest solo singer ever to perform at the Royal Variety Show in front of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth. Soon, she was on radio and television, performing in children's plays and musicals across Britain. She wasn't just a talented child anymore. She was becoming a star. Her first film appearance was small, just a voice role in an Italian cartoon called The Singing Princess, but it opened the door to bigger dreams. When she turned 19, Julie took a massive leap. She crossed the Atlantic to make her Broadway debut in The Boyfriend in 1954. She was terrified to leave her family behind, especially since she had been helping support them with her earnings. But her father encouraged her to take the chance, and she did. The show was a success. Audiences adored her bright smile, natural humor, and pure voice. Critics praised her as a breath of fresh air, and the performance earned her the Theatre World Award. Two men in the audience that night would change her destiny: Alan J. Lerner and Frederick Loewy, the creators of My Fair Lady. They immediately knew she was perfect for their new role, Eliza Doolittle. By 1956, Julie Andrews was just 20 years old and already a Broadway star. Her role in My Fair Lady made her famous worldwide. The story of a Cockney flower girl transformed into a refined lady showed off her voice and charm perfectly. The show became a phenomenon, running for years and filling theaters night after night. Julie's name became known in both New York and London, and her performances enchanted audiences on both sides of the Atlantic. In 1960, she returned to Broadway in Camelot, starring opposite the talented and magnetic Richard Burton. Their chemistry was undeniable, and while the two shared a strong attraction, Julie kept her distance. She once joked that when Burton tried to flirt with her, Mary Poppins let fly, and she shut him down with a sharp retort. Still, the intensity of their connection made their on-stage performances even more electric. The show struggled at first, but after an appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show, it became a huge success. Burton won a Tony Award, and Julie earned another nomination. The performances also caught the eye of someone very special, Walt Disney. He saw her perform and knew instantly that she was the perfect choice for his next big project. But just as her career was reaching new heights, she suffered a major heartbreak. Hollywood decided to make a film version of My Fair Lady, the very show that had made her a star. Everyone assumed Julie would naturally play the lead, but Warner Brothers thought she wasn't famous enough for the big screen. They gave the role to Audrey Hepburn instead. For Julie, it was a devastating blow. She had created Eliza Doolittle, lived that character night after night, and now she was being replaced. But she didn't give up. What she didn't know was that Disney was already preparing the role that would make her an international icon, Mary Poppins. Losing My Fair Lady to Audrey Hepburn was a painful blow for Julie Andrews. Audrey was already a famous movie star, but she couldn't sing like Julie. Most of her songs in the movie had to be dubbed by another singer. Julie later joked that if anyone had asked her to lend her voice for someone else's performance, she would have spat in their eye. Still, what felt like a loss turned out to be a blessing. Not long after, Walt Disney offered her the role of Mary Poppins. Disney had seen her perform in Camelot on Broadway and was instantly sure she was perfect for his dream project. When Julie told him she couldn't accept because she was pregnant, Walt simply smiled and said, "That's okay, we'll wait." He truly believed that only Julie could bring Mary Poppins to life. He even rented a house in Los Angeles for her family so she could work comfortably after giving birth. When Mary Poppins was released in 1964, no one expected such a massive success from a first-time film actress. Julie was 29, and from her very first scene as the magical nanny, audiences were captivated. The movie became a worldwide hit, earning over $44 million in the United States alone. The following year, Mary Poppins and My Fair Lady competed at the Oscars. Mary Poppins swept the awards, and Julie Andrews won the Oscar for Best Actress. In her acceptance speech, she humorously thanked Jack Warner, the studio executive who had rejected her for My Fair Lady. Even better, Mary Poppins made more money than My Fair Lady despite its smaller budget. Julie Andrews was officially Hollywood's new star. The success didn't stop there. When The Sound of Music hit theaters in 1965, it became one of the biggest films ever made, earning $286 million worldwide. Julie's performance as Maria von Trapp, a spirited nun who brings joy and music back into a grieving family's home, won the hearts of millions. The opening scene of her twirling on a mountaintop became one of the most famous moments in movie history. But it wasn't as easy as it looked. The helicopter filming the scene kept knocking her to the ground with its wind. She later laughed about it, saying she was flattened after every take. The Sound of Music won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and made Julie the brightest star in Hollywood. But success came with its own challenges. After Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music, people began to say she could only play sweet, singing nanny roles. Julie knew she had to prove she could do more. Later in 1964, she chose a very different kind of film, the Americanization of Emily. It was set during World War II and showed a darker, more mature side of her. She played a widow opposite James Garner and showed the world she was a serious actress, not just a singer. In 1966, she teamed up with the legendary director Alfred Hitchcock for Torn Curtain, a Cold War spy thriller co-starring Paul Newman. The movie did well at the box office, earning over $13 million, though Hitchcock felt Julie and Paul were too perfect for the gritty tone he wanted. Still, audiences loved it, and Julie continued to prove her versatility. That same year, she starred in Hawaii, a massive historical epic based on James Michener's novel. With a $15 million budget, the biggest of its time, the movie faced delays from heavy rain and even tidal wave warnings. Despite the chaos, it became the top-grossing film of the year. Julie played a strong, determined woman who follows her missionary husband to the islands. Her performance was powerful, But the spotlight unexpectedly shifted to Jocelyn Lagarde, a newcomer who played a Hawaiian queen. Lagarde's performance was so stunning that she won a Golden Globe, stealing headlines from everyone, even Julie. By the late 1960s, Julie's golden streak began to fade. In 1968, she starred in Star, a biopic about stage actress Gertrude Lawrence. The movie had a huge budget and was directed by the same man who made The Sound of Music, but it flopped badly. Critics said Julie's performance was too theatrical, and the film lost millions, becoming one of the biggest failures of the decade. Then came Darling Lily in 1970, directed by her husband, Blake Edwards. It was meant to transform her image. Julie swore on screen and even performed a striptease, a shocking change for audiences who knew her as Mary Poppins. But the film, which cost about $25 million, failed at the box office. Despite her effort to evolve, Hollywood started to see her as a fading star. Still, she earned Golden Globe nominations for both Star and Darling Lily, proving that even when her movies stumbled, her talent was undeniable. In 1972, she tried something new: television. The Julie Andrews Hour, a musical variety show filled with comedy and celebrity guests, premiered to glowing reviews. ABC believed in her so much that they signed her for 5 years. Critics loved her warmth and wit, but unfortunately, viewers didn't tune in. The show was cancelled after 1 season. Ironically, just a month later, it won 7 Emmy Awards out of 10 nominations,